Welcome. This video describes several toxic relationship patterns that can work their way into your life and cause major problems. I'm going to explain indicators that you want to be sure that you're aware of so that you can stop these patterns from forming and growing. As I explain how to identify each of the patterns, I'll also direct you to the videos on this channel that detail solutions and steps to creating healthy relationship patterns. I'm Dr. Lynette Wiest, and you're watching Wisdom's Peaceful Harmony. And if you want to be sure to be notified of future videos, be sure to subscribe and turn on your notification bell. Now, it's critical to identify problematic relationship patterns. The sooner that you solve them, the less control that they're going to have in your life. And when problems are ignored, they act like a poison, creating destructive perceptions, beliefs, and behaviors in relationships, like irresponsibility, blame, confusion, self-doubt, and mistrust. And over time, an otherwise enjoyable relationship could end, or even worse, it could become abusive. So what are these toxic patterns and how can you identify them? Well, the first pattern that I'm going to talk about is the use of verbal or behavioral threats and demands. These can create fear and destroy the emotional safety that's required for developing healthy relationships and healthy relationship patterns. Threats and demands come from wanting one's way, and there's nothing wrong with wanting one's way. But threats destroy cooperation, and they prohibit enjoyable relationship patterns, and they create toxic patterns. And if the threats and demands are mixed with emotion, then emotional management skills are needed because otherwise things can get really out of control. So for example, if you say no to a request and then you're met with an angry threat, the anger is intended to break down your boundary by using fear. Another example is where toxic words create fear, and then that fear is intended to break down boundaries. For example, when someone says, if you don't agree to my request, I'll never be open with you. Or if you don't do what I want you to do, other people will be angry with you or hurt by you. So those examples are otherwise known as attempts to put you on a guilt trip. Now, anytime communication promotes fear or anxiety, there needs to be improved communication skills. For detailed solutions to how to create new patterns for these kinds of problems, see the playlist that's titled Emotional Intelligence and the playlist on the channel, that is titled Communication Skills Assertiveness. Now, often threats are a symptom of broader manipulation strategies. And if there is confusion in the communication and it can't be solved or resolved by attempts to communicate clearly, it is very possible that manipulation is occurring. In manipulative patterns, one person is putting their own needs above the other person's needs. One person's relationship needs are being met while the other person's are not. And people who use manipulation to get their way often do it by habit and without even recognizing the consequences of what they're doing. Some examples of manipulation are blame, insincere and dishonest compliments, covert attempts to influence the other person, requests that compromise the integrity of the other person, isolating the other person from family or friends, secrecy, and victim language, such as no one loves me, or you don't care about me, or I'm always left out. Now, symptoms that indicate underlying manipulation are distrust, confusing communication, and relationship boundaries that are confusing or unclear, even after there has been discussion to try to clarify boundaries. Now, if the person who has been using manipulation tactics wants to find healthy ways to express their desires and goals, then they're going to need to learn to respect the other person's right to clear and honest communication. If the person manipulating does not have a desire for change, then what you would want to do is put solid boundaries in place. And if those boundaries are not respected, then emotional or physical distance might be the best thing to do. For detailed information about the solutions for creating clear communication and for creating relationship boundaries and for understanding relationship boundaries, see the video that is on the playlist that is titled "What Are Personal Boundaries?" and the playlist that's titled "Communication Skills for Improving Your Relationships." Another toxic pattern is an ongoing unequal balance of responsibility. This is where one person's problems or irresponsibility overwhelms the other person. Often in these situations, schedules and other boundaries are not being respected, and these types of patterns can cause resentment and blame. But resentment and blame will only increase the problems. So it's important to be aware of the boundaries and roles that work best for your relationship, and then create patterns of balance and respect. And for details about how to create clear boundaries and roles, see the playlist that's titled Self-Care and Relationship Boundaries. Another strong indicator of underlying toxic relationship patterns is chronic interpersonal stress. All relationships have moments of stress, but if the stress is chronic, then this indicates a toxic relationship pattern. Toxic underlying patterns develop when one or both people make decisions without considering the consequences of their decisions on the other person. Other toxic patterns that you want to be aware of are they occur when honesty and compassion are not foundational ingredients in the relationship. And that creates patterns of distrust and of judgment and of dishonesty. Another reason for chronic stress is the destructive pattern of competing for who is right and who is wrong, rather than cooperating to problem solve. When problem-solving skills aren't used to reconcile disagreements before they get to be too heated, then increased communication problems and even abusive patterns can develop. And for solutions that decrease these types of chronic stressors, you want to see the playlist on the channel that's titled Conflict, Disagreement, Frustration. And also see the playlist that's titled Overcome Relationship Challenges. If you liked this video, please click on the like button and subscribe and turn on your notification bell if you want to be sure to see more videos about relationships, about love's power, and about communication skills. It is free to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Welcome.